Back in 2022, a pair of Whatcom County Sheriff's deputies were called to the scene of a report of a man shooting his gun into a neighbor's yard. When those neighbors got there, the man ambushed them, shooting them both. At that point, a couple of neighbors stepped in with their own weapons and laid down fire while those two deputies were being pulled to safety. What you're about to see has never been published before. This is never before seen video of that shootout, and we warn you that it is graphic.
Drop the gun! God, fuck you in the ass!
Oh my God.
You may have heard the news that the U.S. debt just hit, well, I guess you would call it a sobering milestone, 40 trillion, that's T for trillion, $40 trillion. I went to the website nationaldebtclock.org to see what that means exactly. Some mind-boggling numbers here. The debt per U.S. citizen is now $116,000. The debt for each U.S. taxpayer is more than $360,000. And look at how the debt to gross domestic product ratio has degraded over the past several decades actually. 52% in 1960, climbing to 122% today. That's the percentage of our debt compared to our annual economic production. It's a gauge of the country's financial health, and it does not look good. A quick look at Washington State shows $102 billion owed according to the debt clock. That's more than $13,000 per citizen.
Leah, you're back now with a very unique explainer on why our snowpack is so important for protecting this critical source.
I think it's important to give you a visual of why our snowpack, why we talk about it every year, especially in the context of glaciers. So I have created a glacier. It's ice cream. I'm going to stick it right here in the middle. Okay, Mimi, I need you. You're wearing yellow. You are our sun.
Yes.
So add some heat to that. Okay, glacier, sun. Snowpack every single year falls. This is a protection over the glacier. Christine, I'm handing you the snowpack. Give us a bad snowpack.
Okay. We'll do a little flurry.
Little flurry.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to melt quickly. And then as we head into summer months, the snowpack is gone. That leaves the glacier to melt. But give us a good winter.
All right, let's do more.
This is a La Nina. We love it. Blizzard, multiple blizzards. Blizzard, blizzard, blizzard. Okay? That's going to protect the glacier. That will slowly melt through the summer months. So by the end of the season, the glacier has not been touched. It's basically like a safety blanket. That's why we care so much about snowpack in the context of glaciers. And keep in mind, these glaciers take thousands or hundreds of years to form, and our glaciers in the North Cascades are thousands of years old. So this is incredibly crucial. We want to protect them at all costs. And Rich, you've lived on a glacier. You can speak about this forever.
Those they call them mass balance measurements. You measure how much ice melts, so you know how much water left the glacier. But then the snow is also important because the snow that's left over, I mean, it's a river of ice. The snow that's left over and gets covered by the next season's snow eventually becomes that ice that feeds the glacier. So if that snow's gone, it's not getting fed and it's being melted away, and they disappear quickly. And that's happening to a lot of the glaciers up there in the North Cascades.
And that's why we should care about our snowpack for multiple reasons.
And we're talking about it right now because that snowpack is gone. So this is the time of the year where they actually measure the glaciers. So that's why we talk about it in the summer.
Thanks, Leah.
It's a terrible measurement. I've been through it. You have to go out and probe all the snow that's left, measure all the ablation of the ice. Nobody ever came back up the glacier twice to do that. It's a September
this
ordeal.
team does it volunteer 43 years straight.
That is impressive. They're doing that as volunteers,
What would you fix about the Seattle Mariners? Dusty Baker, one of our sports producers. Dusty, you're the new Mariners manager. What do you do?
Well, first of all, I'm getting in Julio's face for what he did, throwing a ball over the fence. I mean, that can't happen, right?
That can't happen.
But as far as this team right now as a whole, you're going to have to play with what you're given. I would say roster construction has been a big issue. The lineup needs to be constructed in a completely different way. Randy's been more productive in the heart of the lineup. Love to see Taylor Ward in the 2 slot when he's healthy. Even lead off with Cole Young. They just need to have a different spark there at the top. And constantly shifting the lineup. You got to find some consistency at some point.
All right. I feel it. Joel Knipp. Joel, what would you do to fix the Mariners? Sports producer. You've been here for what? 30 years.
Not that long, 22, 23.
40 years at Cade. How would you fix this team?
Well, right now they need a spark. Right now, I'd bring up Cade Anderson and tell probably Bryce Miller, who's slumped in the last month or two, and put Cade in there and hope that he provides a spark. I'd also bring up Michael Arroyo and tell Rosarena, go to DH. If you don't like it, well, that's too bad.
So you're saying bring in the young guns.
You need some spark. You need a spark somehow or another. You got to figure this out. And Dan Wilson, whether it's him or another coach, needs to light a fire under the whole team.
Light a fire.
Because sometimes they don't seem that passionate.
No.
And maybe they are behind the scenes. We just don't see it. But right now, I mean, just like what Dusty was saying, that Julio just kind of lackadaisically threw the ball into the outfield.
Yeah,
Like,
your stars have got to perform. He wants Chase Utley. What would you do?
Remember the old Olympia? It's the Water Brewery. Well, that's here in Tumwater, just down the street from where I am. This is a brewery and a distillery here. South Puget Sound Community College uses this as a lab. It's the only school in the country that offers a 2-year degree in cider making, distilling, and brewing. And they just this year released a beer produced by this recent graduate, Martin Lee. It's a 100% student-produced sour saison. I tasted a little bit. It's pretty good. It is being sold here locally in Thurston County, and all of the proceeds will go back to this program to pay for scholarships and to pay for maintenance and pay for lessons for students like Martin here to go off on his own and become a brewer with a degree from the South Puget Sound Community College.
The recall petition against Mayor Katie Wilson heads to court. Today, I talked with one of the 2 Seattle voters who launched this effort, Melinda Jacobson. She's lived in Seattle her whole life, and she says that she did try to give Wilson a chance, and in her words, she's seen one public safety failure after another. Things that she says are really driving her effort now to get the mayor out of office are really all about public safety, and things she's seen happening in her neighborhood, North Seattle, along Aurora Avenue. She says the trafficking and gun violence has been out of control. She also talks about growing open-air drug markets in the Chinatown International District and Belltown, and she says she doesn't like the way the mayor handled the situation with former police chief Sean Barnes. It was late in July. The mayor did request that Barnes step down. He did. He walked away with a severance package, about $700,000. She looks at all those things and says that she thinks that the city needs to do better. She wants the mayor to be out of office. Now it's going to move to a courtroom on August 31st. We'll be watching and continue to follow this.
Bellevue firefighters just tried to save this office building. You can see it is a total loss. Crews dumped water onto the roof of this building where firefighters say the fire spread into the attic. Smoke was pouring out. Firefighters tried to save the building, but at one point they realized they needed to get on defense, get out of the building, and just put the fire out. That's because the fire weakened the trusses of the building so much that the AC units and the furnaces in the attic could have fallen on the crews as they were inside here. Traffic is back open at this intersection. The cause is still under investigation.
We just got our first update, the preliminary report from the NTSB about that plane crash in the San Juans involving that Kenmore Air float plane. No official cause at this point, but the big thing in that report is that weather may have played a big factor. It certainly led to the pilot asking to divert the plane's path before he ultimately landed. In the process, clipping the wing in the water as well as the pontoon. Remember, it's a float plane. All that hit the water, and then the plane kind of slid into the rocks and then caught fire. We've seen so much of that video, dramatic video of the rescues from boaters and the Coast Guard and others who pitched in to help. The pilot and all 10 passengers survived the crash, but obviously there is a long road ahead as far as the investigation goes. And so this is the process. The NTSB releases its preliminary findings based on initial discussions with the pilot, and that's where the pilot talked about there being bad weather, and he had planned to stop over at Susha Island, and when trying to stop to wait out for the weather is when the crash happened. So it could still be a year or even more before we get any definitive answers as to what went wrong.
More than 700 cats survived Hurricane Lala on the Hawaiian island of Lanai, but their sanctuary took a major hit. I'm Bethany on the King News Desk, and Lanai is a small island in Maui County, located between Maui and Molokai. That's where the Lanai Cat Sanctuary is home to more than 700 cats, known as the Lanai Lions. They say their secure habitats and perimeter fencing held strong during the hurricane, keeping the cats safe. But heavy rain and powerful winds caused flooding and damage across the property. A brand new carport was destroyed, a storage shed was heavily damaged, and about 30 cat houses need to be replaced. The sanctuary estimates the damage at $15,000 to $20,000. Cleanup is underway, but the sanctuary is asking for help with repairs while continuing to care for the cats.
For the first time, a tree-killing pest called the emerald ash borer has been found in Washington state. The invasive beetle was first discovered in Oregon in 2022, and now it's made its way to Vancouver, Washington. The Washington Invasive Species Council says the beetle is devastating to ash trees and one of the most destructive forest pests in North America. Officials are warning people not to bring in wood pallets or logs from out of state and to not travel with firewood to help avoid spreading the beetle.
Hey everybody, so did you know 3 in 10 drivers say it out loud? Nobody actually drives the speed limit. A new AAA study finds speeding may be more normalized than we actually think. Most drivers surveyed said that going up to 10 miles per hour over the posted limit feels acceptable. But AAA says that mindset can be dangerous. Even a few extra miles per hour can reduce reaction time and make crashes more severe. So the next time that you're running late, remember the speed limit is not just a suggestion.
Seattle just got a major new addition to its pickleball scene. Pickle at the Palms is a new indoor pickleball spot located near the Seattle Storm's practice facility in Inner Bay. Storm majority owner Ginny Gilder created the space with a vision of building more than just a place to play. Inside are 20 indoor courts across 2 levels, making this one of the biggest pickleball facilities in the Pacific Northwest. Players can reserve courts, join open play sessions, and take advantage of technology that helps them review matches and sharpen their game. The Palms will also offer leagues, clinics, junior programs, and a beginner series designed to help new players build skills and confidence on the court. Beyond the courts, there's a cafe overlooking the action, giving visitors a place to grab a coffee, a bite to eat, or a drink between games. Players can also browse the pro shop for paddles, apparel, and Palms branded merchandise. Whether you're a serious player or just pickleball curious, Pickle at the Palms officially opens August 24th.
Just hours before new tariffs on Canadian goods were set to go into effect, President Trump announced a 3-day pause to allow negotiations to continue. New 50% import taxes were set to take effect at midnight, hitting $20 billion worth of Canadian goods, including hockey sticks, alcohol, and dairy products. But in a late-night social media post, the president said the U.S. and Canada had reached a deal. No further details of the agreement were given, but the president said the cross-border Keystone XL pipeline project could be revived as part of the deal.
Last week, we ran into 2 brothers who were showing up for their dad's first court appearance at the Northwest Ice Processing Center in Tacoma, and they told me that their dad was arrested about 2 weeks ago, and this is the video that they were able to send me today.
So it's all fair game, everybody knows, right? Okay. So you realize we're from immigration, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so they're going to work with your dad over there, find out what's going on with him, and then we'll go from there, all right?
No puedo caminar.
Yeah, okay, fine. Your dad will be transported down to Tukwila, where they'll go over his paperwork with him and what he needs to do and all that stuff. If he's able to bond, they'll bond him out. If he's not able to bond, then they'll move him to Tacoma to a detention center.
Okay.
Either way, he'll get bunch of phone calls. He'll get legal representations, and he'll be able to do all that stuff. He'll be able to contact you guys and talk to you guys, and then you guys can work from there on working whatever his paperwork is, okay?
The brothers told me that their dad has diabetes and also has different health issues. You can see here he's using a cane to walk, and the agents pull him out of the car and escort him to their cars. This is a edited and shortened version of this entire video that was around 4 or 5 minutes.
In Seattle, a lifelong resident is leading the charge to recall Mayor Katie Wilson.
Nobody else was stepping up to the plate.
Melinda Jacobson decided to act, pointing to what she sees as one public safety failure after another. She says Wilson let gunfire and trafficking take over North Aurora and accuses her of letting open-air drug markets grow unchecked in the Chinatown International District and Belltown.
I've had one supporter say we have a mayor in training wheels right now.
She has people backing her, but there's opponents too.
Critics might say, well, she inherited some of the problems that were happening there, and she hasn't been there long enough to make a difference. What would you say to that?
She definitely did inherit problems. There's no doubt about it. But has she done anything active about it? Not that I can see.
One decision late last month pushed her over the edge.
The point where I decided I really have to do something is when she fired the police chief in the middle of a murder investigation.
After the deadly mass shooting at Seattle Center, the mayor requested Chief Sean Barnes' resignation. He stepped down, severance package in hand.
That makes no common sense. And it was also very expensive for the city, too. You know, $700,000. That's a lot of money.
Now the recall effort moves forward.
That is a legal process that will be playing out.
A hearing lands at the end of the month.
I personally will not be there. I will be represented by counsel.
Melinda Jacobson will be front and center in the courtroom.
And then we're ready to go.
Cleanup is underway in Covington after a car crashed into a Dollar Tree store. It happened last night along Southeast 272nd Street. Puget Sound Fire says the driver was the only one in the vehicle and they weren't injured. Firefighters removed the car and assessed the damage to the building.
Where do you find the city's best pizza? I know that is a loaded question, but according to the local paper, it's right here, and that's the readers and the critics. Stevie's Famous launched in 2022 and has quickly grown to become a favorite for numerous reasons. They might be known for their New York-style pizza, but it's arguably cooler that people line up for the frozen treats like their super rich house-made ice cream. Maybe Stevie's is famous for the atmosphere. They've got retro video games accenting a wall of fame, paying tribute to the New York pizzeria celebrity walls. The menu is limited to just the hits, and they do them well. You can turn it up by making it a normie, adding hot honey and burrata. Even the cheese is treated with intention. First, the pies are covered with slices of cheese, then the sauce. It's all a part of the pie that makes Stevie's Famous. Now open, their third location in Finney Ridge.
I don't know, for whoever know me, that's the moment I feel sad, I want to be in the kitchen and cooking food. This is the whole concept. We create this restaurant. You know, especially refugees and immigrants, most of them, they came from countries that has war and disasters. And I felt that in their hearts, there is flashback coming back to their heart and their eyes, and they don't want anyone to be in this situation.
Why are scientists in Australia putting penguins in bags? While it may look a bit jarring, scientists are actually racing to vaccinate more than 5,000 fairy penguins, also known as little penguins, against the deadly H5N1 strain of bird flu. But vaccinating thousands of wild penguins isn't exactly straightforward. Rangers have to carefully take the penguins from their burrows, weigh them, and then administer the vaccine. And each penguin requires 2 doses, so they have to repeat the whole process again. These penguins are special because they're part of the world's largest colony of little penguins. They're famous for the Penguin Parade, where they come on shore and waddle to their burrows. Currently, there are a few hundred birds on Phillip Island in Victoria, but the colony is nearly 40,000 strong, and more birds are expected to return to their burrows in the coming weeks, which means more penguins to vaccinate. At least one little penguin has already died from the flu, and rangers are racing to try to protect the rest of the colony before it spreads further.
I got blown up in Afghanistan and spent 3 weeks in a coma. I woke up tied to a hospital bed in Germany. It's difficult. I mean, it's not impossible. There are people that live with way less.
Wildlife crossings on I-90 are hitting a major milestone. WSDOT says its Snoqualmie Pass overcrossing just recorded its 10,000th successful crossing. They also have 11 different underpasses for animals in that area. With all those combined, there have been nearly 40,000 wildlife crossings since 2014. WSDOT says roadkill in that stretch has dropped to nearly zero. The agency has plans to install one more overcrossing and 15 more underpasses over the next 5 years.
Victoria have probably one of the best fan bases, though, in the entire PWHL. What are you most excited about playing in front of them?
Yeah, I was talking to Carp, and she was like, dude, like, sometimes you're on the ice, and you can't even, like, talk to your teammates. That's how loud it is, you know? And it's like, she's like, there's not many stadiums that are like that. I mean, they almost sell out, like, every game, which is so exciting. So, I mean, I'm excited to get my first game under my belt in front of that outrageous crowd. So, but heard so many great things and just pumped to kind of show them what I can bring to the pro league and especially the city of Seattle.